The lights flickered. Then came the static. It wasn't a glitch, it was a pulse, a raw, guttural hum that vibrated through bone and soul. Every screen lit up with a scrambled chaos of symbols, fractal spirals, and stuttering noise. Then, clear as breath on glass, a voice whispered through every device. "They're already here." No one moved. In that suspended moment, reality hung on a knife's edge. Then the signal erupted. Buildings shook. The sky shimmered unnaturally, as if refusing to obey Earth's rules. Panic overtook the streets like floodwaters. News anchors vanished mid-sentence. Children screamed. Sirens howled. The protagonist, Jonas, 17, wounded, wary, stood frozen in a high school hallway, staring into a glitching screen. He didn't just hear the message. He felt it. Deep in his marrow. "We've been waiting for you," it said again. Softer this time, almost tender. Jonas didn't know who he was, but he suddenly knew one thing. He wasn't just a bystander anymore. Jonas stumbled backward from the screen, heartbeat drumming in his ears. The hallway was still eerily quiet, though sirens wailed in the distance. He could hear them, those words still echoing inside his head like a melody he couldn't forget. He wasn't imagining it. The symbols weren't gibberish. They were structured, purposeful. Someone, or something, meant for them to be understood. Behind him a locker slammed shut, even though no one was there. Jonas turned sharply. Empty. Well, but his gut knew better. He was being watched. The air was thick, charged, like a storm was forming inside the school itself. He whispered, "What is happening to me?" Then, the intercom cracked. Not the school's usual voice, but a distorted imitation. "Jonas, Jonas." He backed into the wall, breath catching. Not fear. Something deeper. Recognition. As if part of him already belonged to them. He ran. Down the corridor, past doors that hummed with low frequencies, past classroom windows that flickered between his reflection and something else. Faces, not his. Worlds, not this one. Jonas' footsteps echoed unnaturally, like time was stretching each sound. He burst through the doors to the gymnasium. Empty. Vast. Echoing. And then he saw it, the gym floor shimmering, flickering like a mirage. In the center stood a figure, tall, inhuman, eyes glowing faintly blue beneath a human disguise. A teacher? A student? No, something pretending. Jonas stopped dead in his tracks. The being tilted its head. "You've awakened," it said, voice vibrating across frequencies. "Too soon, but it cannot be undone." Jonas could barely breathe. It stepped forward, and the world around the gym distorted like a broken lens. Jonas turned to run, but the door behind him had vanished. Only wall. No exits. The creature approached, yet its steps made no sound. The gym warped with each motion, the basketball hoops bending, walls curving like breath on glass. "We need you to remember," the creature said, voice deepening. "This world was never yours." Jonas shouted, "You're lying," but the words came out distorted, elongated. The creature reached out, and in a flash of light, images exploded in his mind. Planets collapsing, stars eaten by shadow, humans altered in pods. He screamed, but his body didn't move. His mind split open. In that second, he saw himself, not just Jonas, but something more. Something older. Buried. Dead. And now awakened. Then silence. The vision ceased. Jonas collapsed onto the gym floor, gasping. Creature was gone. So was the distortion. Everything appeared normal. Too normal. As if nothing had happened. But he knew better. His head throbbed with residual voices and ancient warnings. The gym doors now stood open behind him. The hallway peaceful. Students walked by as if the last 10 minutes hadn't happened. Jonas sat up slowly, eyes scanning the faces of his classmates. No one looked back. Except one girl, violet eyes, skin like polished stone. She smiled. Not friendly, not cruel. Knowing. And Jonas felt it all begin again. The game wasn't over. It had just begun. Jonas didn't go home that day. He walked for hours, through side streets and quiet alleys, trying to outrun the weight inside his chest. The world felt off. Too sharp. Too clean. A simulation running too well. He ducked into an abandoned underpass, his old hiding place from when his father used to rage. As he sat beneath the rusted steel beams, memories crashed in like waves. His mother's voice. Her laugh. Her sudden disappearance when he was 8. The police said accident. But there'd never been a body. He remembered the nightmares that followed, her voice calling him through static. He had always thought it was grief. Now he wasn't so sure. Jonas clenched his fists. What am I? He whispered to no one. As if in answer, his old MP3 player, long dead, lit up beside him. The screen pulsed once, then scrolled across with a phrase he couldn't ignore. You are the key. The next day Jonas found himself at his grandmother's house, a woman known for speaking to the wind and collecting broken clocks. She lived in a time-forgotten cottage at the city's edge, filled with ticking and whispering. Jonas didn't expect answers. Just comfort. But when he showed her the MP3, she went silent. Her eyes filled with tears. I prayed this would skip your generation, she said, voice trembling. But it's back. Jonas froze. What's back? She turned, slowly opened an old box, and pulled out a photo, his mother as a teen, standing in front of the same alien symbols he saw in the glitch. She was one of them, Jonas. She hid it well, but when they came, she chose you. The world reeled. Jonas couldn't speak. She said you'd see the signs, his grandmother whispered. And now you have. Jonas didn't sleep that night. He stood at his bedroom window, staring at the stars, wondering which one was watching him back. His thoughts spun like clock hands, memories of dreams where he floated above cities he'd never seen, visions of figures in black watching from across streets, always vanishing before he could reach them. He had always chalked it up to trauma. But now, it felt like memory. He touched the window pane, breath fogging the glass, and whispered, Why me? Behind him, a soft glow illuminated the room. He turned, and hovering mid-air was the photo from his grandmother's house, rotating slowly, symbols pulsing around it. Not a hallucination. A message. The symbols snapped into place like a puzzle. Jonas blinked. He understood them, and that terrified him more than anything else. By morning, Jonas made his decision. He returned to school, not for class but to find her. The girl with violet eyes. She was waiting for him. Not surprised. Not curious. Just ready. You saw it, didn't you? She said, leading him toward the empty weight room. Jonas didn't answer. She didn't need him to. I'm not like them, she continued. I wasn't sent to hurt you. I was sent to wake you. The gym echoed as they walked inside. Jonas felt every footstep like thunder in his bones. Who are you? He asked. She smiled. A friend, a warning, a mirror. Then she touched his forehead with 2 fingers. In that instant, Jonas saw visions, his mother again, standing in front of a gateway not of earth. She turned to him and said, You must finish what I couldn't. Then everything went white. Jonas awoke on the gym floor. Again. But this time, something had changed. In his hand was a shard of metal shaped like a key. The violet-eyed girl was gone. No one around. But the door to the supply closet, always locked, stood wide open. Inside was not shelves and balls, but a staircase leading down into darkness. Jonas didn't question it. Not anymore. He descended, each step humming beneath his weight. The walls weren't school walls anymore. They pulsed with bioluminescent veins. At the bottom was a chamber, circular and ancient. And in the center, a floating hologram of Earth, with red lines webbing out to stars. He stepped forward. The hologram flickered, and a single word appeared above it. Choose. Jonas stood before the holographic projection, transfixed. The word choose pulsed above the model of Earth, beckoning him like a silent test. Around the perimeter of the chamber, alien glyphs began to shift, rearranging themselves into two distinct paths, one lined in silver light, the other crimson. The silver led upward, back to the surface. The crimson pointed deeper underground, where the walls pulsed faster, more violently. A voice echoed within the chamber, not mechanical but living. You must know the cost of knowledge, it warned. Jonas reached out toward the silver. It dimmed. Toward crimson. It brightened. Gritting his teeth, he took the first step down. As he moved, the voice whispered again. You are not the first, but you may be the last. Every step down felt heavier, like the weight of history itself was pressing against his spine. The crimson path descended into a corridor, unlike any structure Jonas had ever seen. It felt alive. The walls shifted subtly, as if breathing. Floor panels lit beneath his feet, illuminating glyphs and faint silhouettes that resembled humans, but distorted, as though caught mid-transformation. At the far end, a chamber opened, circular, and filled with a ring of black stone chairs, each one occupied by a holographic projection of a figure. Some were human, others not. Council of the Veiled Accord. A voice intoned. Your lineage grants you access. Jonas stepped forward, and every head turned toward him. You walk among us again, one said. The sleeper has stirred. Jonas' heart pounded. What is this? He asked. Another answered, This is your inheritance, and your curse. The air grew colder. Jonas wasn't just a visitor. He was expected. The council's projections began to speak in layered voices, overlapping in languages Jonas somehow understood. Humanity was never alone. We shaped you. We hid among you. And now, we reveal what your kind buried in myth. Visions surged into Jonas' mind, ancient temples lost to time, DNA spliced by alien hands, wars hidden in rewritten history. He fell to his knees, grasping his skull as centuries of memory, none of them his, flooded him. You carry our code, one counselor said. You were seeded to awaken at the collapse. Jonas choked out. Why me? A pause. Then, because your bloodline defied extinction. The phrase echoed like a drumbeat. He wasn't chosen. He was built. And someone, maybe even his own mother, knew this day would come. When Jonas stood again, his eyes glowed faintly, subtle like embers buried in ash. He looked at the council with a new clarity. If you created us, why hide? He asked. A figure in the farthest chair, tall and silent until now, spoke in a lower tone. Because humans fear their origins, they kill what they do not understand. Another added, and because your world was not ready for war. A holographic map of the Milky Way appeared above them, thousands of red points blinking across it. The veil between worlds is thinning, the first voice said. The factions have returned. Jonas swallowed hard. Factions? There are those who seek control, they said. And those who seek freedom. You must choose which you become. A sudden weight pressed on Jonas' chest again. This wasn't a discovery. It was a recruitment. Before Jonas could respond, the walls of the chamber trembled. A deep alarm sounded, not mechanical, but resonant, like a throat clearing across dimensions. The council flickered violently. They found you, one said. The sleeper must return to the veil. A hidden wall opened, revealing a tunnel drenched in white-blue light. Run! The chamber began to disintegrate. Jonas didn't hesitate. As he sprinted down the corridor, memories chased him, his mother's face, the council's voices, the girl with violet eyes. At the end of the tunnel, a shape waited. Humanoid, armored, holding something between a weapon and a beacon. You're early, the figure said. But not unprepared. Jonas skidded to a stop. Who are you? The figure pulled back its hood. It was his mother, unchanged. We don't have time, she said. They're coming. Jonas stared at the woman before him, his mother, unchanged, timeless. She pressed the glowing device into his hand, her expression tight with urgency. This is a locator. It will lead you to the fracture point. Jonas could barely speak. How? You died. She looked away. No, I left. I had to protect the truth. They wanted you erased. The corridor shook again, fissures splitting the walls like glass under pressure. She grabbed his arm. They used me to open the gate the first time, but they need your blood to do it again. You have to stay hidden until the time is right. Jonas blinked, struggling to hold on. Who's they? Her face darkened. Not aliens, humans, factions within your own government. They've been orchestrating this since before you were born. Jonas' stomach turned. The enemy wasn't above. It was below. They emerged from the underground chamber into a vast desert canyon beneath a starlit sky. The earth above the school was gone, obliterated. Jonas staggered, trying to make sense of the new geography. They're altering terrain to confuse pursuit, his mother explained. It's not just physical, it's perception. The air shimmered, mirages folding in on themselves like collapsing paper. You've been part of the program since birth, she continued. Your memories. Most of them were planted to keep you docile. Jonas' jaw clenched. So what's real? She turned to him. This moment. And your choice. Far across the desert shapes moved, black aircraft, triangular, moving without sound. They found us, she muttered. Jonas stared at the ships. They're human. No, she corrected grimly. They're worse than that. They're loyal. They didn't run. Jonas' mother raised her hand, activating a shimmering dome around them, a cloaking field that distorted sight and sound. The aircraft passed overhead, scanning, unaware. Jonas watched them disappear, heart still racing. We don't have much time, she said. There's someone else you must meet. She led him to a cave hidden beneath a natural rock arch. Inside was a network of tunnels lined with old human tech, curt monitors, analog radios, patched cables. This is where the resistance began, she said. They used to be thousands, now barely dozens. Jonas paused before a wall covered in Polaroid photos, faces, some smiling, some crossed out. Among them, his mother's younger self. Beside her, a man. Dad, he whispered. She nodded. He died trying to stop them from activating the gate. Jonas reached out to touch the photo. Then I'll finish what he started. That night, Jonas sat alone in the outer cave, staring at the stars. Not as mystery, as memory. He remembered faces he'd never met, voices speaking languages he didn't know, but understood. He was beginning to unlock it. The code. The inheritance. From behind, the violet-eyed girl appeared as if stepping from the stone itself. They'll be here soon, she said softly. The gate is opening faster than expected. Jonas looked up. Why help me? She crouched beside him. Because your existence means we have a chance. Jonas studied her, human but not quite. She noticed. I was grown for this, not born. But you were chosen. He stood. Then let's stop pretending I'm not ready. She smiled faintly. Your kind calls it courage. We call it return. As dawn broke over the horizon, the resistance began to stir. Jonas stood at the heart of the cave, now a makeshift war room. His mother handed him a tablet pulsing with strange symbols. This is the final access key. You're the only one who can activate it. Jonas stared down at the glyphs, no longer foreign. They welcomed him. The girl stepped forward with a thin crystalline blade and offered it without a word. You'll need this where we're going, she said. Where I'm going? Jonas asked. You're not coming. She shook her head. I'm not authorized beyond the threshold. A siren wailed. Sensors lit up. One of the resistance members shouted, I've breached the canyon. Jonas turned, heart pounding. Then, this is it. His mother nodded. It always was. The resistance hideout erupted in chaos. Blades of light pierced the canyon sky as the aircraft began their descent. Dust clouds rose like geysers, scattering people and equipment. Jonas gripped the access key tighter. He wasn't just running anymore. He was leading. His mother pointed to a tunnel on the western edge. The gate's beneath the old observatory. You'll need to breach it manually. Jonas nodded, turning to the violet-eyed girl. If they get through before I do. She met his gaze. Then this world ends the way your ancestors feared it would. Explosions boomed overhead. Jonas sprinted toward the tunnel, wind tearing at his clothes, sand cutting across his face like glass. His footsteps echoed in the stone, the crystalline blade pulsing at his side. Behind him, the resistance fought back. But this mission, was his alone. The observatory was barely recognizable, half buried in earth, half suspended by unnatural energy, its telescopic dome cracked and humming with alien frequency. Jonas climbed the rubble, heart racing. Inside, the old equipment sparked erratically, covered in web-like growths of glowing blue crystal. At the center was the gate, no longer a myth, but a massive arch of pulsating matter, nested in gravitational rings that bent the space around it. The key pulsed in sync with the gate. Jonas approached slowly. "This is it," he whispered. He reached toward the interface plate, a stone-like pedestal covered in ancient glyphs. The tablet in his hand melted seamlessly into it. The gate responded. Rings turned. Lights flared. The air thickened as reality peeled. Jonas felt the weight of the universe lean forward. Something was waking. As the gate powered up, Jonas staggered back. Visions assaulted his senses. Civilizations rising and falling, battles fought between stars and Earth as a small manipulated pawn on a galactic board. The veil fell. The truth was unbearable. His ancestors weren't victims. They were collaborators. The factions embedded in human governments were seeded by these galactic architects. But his bloodline had rebelled, once. And now, the legacy of defiance was his. Jonas collapsed to one knee, clutching his head. The blade at his side vibrated and snapped outward, shielding him as the gate emitted a thunderous pulse. Across the battlefield, all eyes turned. The gate had opened. Jonas stood slowly, body trembling. A voice echoed from within the arch. "Do you accept the burden?" Jonas breathed. "I do." Through the gate, Jonas stepped into a realm beyond comprehension. He stood on a floating platform above a shattered void, pieces of space and time swirling like broken glass. Before him hovered a council of ethereal beings, formed of geometry and light. They were the true architects. The ones behind the factions, behind the war. "You are the anomaly," they said in perfect unison. "You are the failed experiment that survived." Jonas' fists clenched. "You used us, used my mother, my father." The beings pulsed. "All life is used. The question is whether it ascends or is discarded." Jonas raised the blade. "Then, I choose neither." He swung. The blade rippled through the fabric of the realm, and for the first time, the architects faltered. One cracked. The system, it seemed, was not perfect. And Jonas was not predictable. The strike didn't destroy them, but it changed something. A fracture spread through the realm. The architects began to flicker, their voices overlapping into dissonance. "Choice was never part of the design," one said, voice fraying. "It is now," Jonas replied. The gate behind him began to collapse, unable to sustain the paradox he had become. Back in the observatory, his mother and the girl with violet eyes stood at the ready, watching the sky twist. "He's doing it," the girl whispered. "He's rewriting it." Jonas felt his body begin to dissolve, not in pain, but as code peeling from false reality. He gave one final thought. Let them remember truth. With that, he vanished into the fracture. The gate imploded behind him. Silence followed. And then, far away, Another gate flickered awake, for the first time in centuries. Silence blanketed the canyon. The gate was gone. So was Jonas. Where once stood a battlefield, only a circular scar remained. Sand turned to glass, metal warped into spirals. The resistance gathered around the crater, stunned. His mother stepped forward, eyes hollow but dry. She knew this cost. She had lived it once before. The violet-eyed girl stood beside her, expression unreadable. He succeeded, she said. The code was altered. A nearby resistance member asked, "Is he dead?" The girl didn't answer. Instead, she placed her hand over her chest. "He is beyond our measure now." The wind picked up. Above, the sky shimmered subtle, no longer glitching but still uneasy. Something had shifted in the structure of the world. Reality hadn't broken. It had been rewritten. And for now, it held. Back at the hideout, the atmosphere had shifted. Monitors that once flickered with static now displayed clean signals. Earth's pulse, quiet but uninterrupted. No more incoming energy surges. The gate network had gone offline. Resistance leaders gathered around the central console, checking feeds, recalibrating sensors. "It's holding," one whispered. The girl sat alone near a stack of old maps, her violet eyes dim. Jonas' mother joined her, kneeling. "He didn't just change the outcome," she said. "He changed the rules." The girl nodded slowly. "But they're not gone, are they?" A pause. "No," she said. "They're only waiting. And now, they know someone can rewrite them." Outside, clouds moved unnaturally fast. The storm wasn't over. But the timeline had fractured, and for once, not in their favor. Somewhere in the world, far from the canyon, a man in a suit stood on a balcony, overlooking a neon-lit city. He tapped a comms implant. "Initiate silent protocol." The gate was neutralized, but something worse took its place. Behind him, a digital wall displayed a looping video of Jonas in the observatory, captured before the collapse. "He did it," the man muttered. "He altered the signal architecture." A second voice responded through static. "Do we activate Protocol 9? The man hesitated, then turned to a black case embedded with the same alien glyphs Jonas had seen. "No, we let it settle. And then, we pivot." Lightning crackled in the sky above the skyline. "Let them think they've won," he said. The war didn't end. It changed battlegrounds. In a remote region of space, a new gate flickered to life. Unlike the one Jonas activated, this one pulsed slowly, patiently. Inside the swirling rings, a shape emerged, massive, mechanical, dormant. A deep frequency echoed through empty space, like a heartbeat. On a nearby asteroid, a monitoring station powered on. Its single occupant, a humanoid with crystalline skin, recorded the activation. "Signal verified," it said aloud. "Phase 2, beginning." The creature turned toward the gate. The anomaly introduced uncertainty. Good. It uploaded the data to a black vault. Now we adapt. Back on Earth, Jonas's name would begin to fade from memory. History would obscure his choice. But in the stars, his defiance was now a variable, and variables spread. That gate didn't just reopen. It was a message. The girl stood alone at the edge of the canyon that night. No weapon. No tech. Just silence. The world behind her was already forgetting. The government would erase the record, reframe the battle, rewrite the war. They always did. But she remembered. She would remember. As the stars began to realign, subtly but undeniably, she whispered, "This isn't over." Her eyes flickered with the faint violet of her origin. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out a sliver of crystalline metal. The last fragment of Jonas' blade. She buried it in the earth right at the center of the crater. The ground pulsed once. Acknowledgement. The blade wasn't a weapon anymore. It was a seed. And something beneath the surface was listening. In a quiet forest clearing far from the world's noise, something shimmered. A distortion, subtle, like heat above pavement. Then, a figure stepped through. Jonas. Alive, but not the same. His body bore faint lines of energy beneath his skin, and his eyes glowed just faintly in the dusk. He took a shaky breath, knees sinking into the moss. He was here, but not fully. Not yet. The space around him bent unnaturally, responding to his pulse. A deer nearby turned, startled, but did not run. The forest recognized him. Or feared him. Jonas stood slowly, looking at his hands. "I came back," he whispered. "But I don't know how long I'll stay." He wasn't tethered to Earth anymore. He had rewritten the code, but that meant he now existed between layers of reality. The fracture was still in him. In the ruins of a former resistance outpost, a signal suddenly sparked to life. An old monitor, long thought dead, buzzed with static before displaying a single glyph. The one Jonas left behind. The girl with violet eyes found it first. She stood in the darkness, hand brushing the dust from the screen. The message was clear. Not words but intent. He was out there. Somewhere. Still watching. Still fighting. And if he could break through once, he could do it again. Behind her, the rebuilt resistance prepared for movement. New uniforms, new faces, old scars. A leader approached her. "We move at dusk." She nodded, eyes still locked on the flickering symbol. "He's not gone," she said. "He's warning us." The leader frowned. "Warning us of what?" She whispered, "That this world is just the first." Far above Earth's orbit, a satellite drifted off course. Its systems rebooted unexpectedly. In the seconds before it vanished, it transmitted one final feed, an image of another gate forming above Mars, this one far larger and far older. Unlike the gate Jonas used, this one bore a different architecture. Brutal, asymmetrical, and unfinished. Inside, something stirred. A planetary intelligence. Forgotten. Sleeping. But waking now. On Earth, the signal reached a secret network deep below the surface. The man from the city viewed it in silence. "It's happening," he said. "The second archive is responding." Across his monitors, thousands of dormant black sites began to activate. One of his aides asked, "Should we inform the council?" He shook his head. "No. They'll only panic." His eyes darkened. "Let the next world burn first." In a place outside time, a null zone where past and future collapse, Jonas stood before a mirror of light. It showed him everything. Versions of himself who chose differently. Realities where he died. Realities where he became a tyrant. One where Earth had burned. One where it had never existed. The mirror pulsed. "This is your burden now," it echoed. "You are a variable." Jonas stared, jaw tight. "Then I'll be the one thing they can't calculate." He raised his hand, shattering the mirror. Reality rippled. Choice fractured again. Somewhere across the void, another Jonas opened his eyes. Connected. A network of selves. The war wasn't against aliens. It was against control. Against inevitability. And Jonas had just become a glitch in their design. A human flaw too stubborn to erase. The final scene is quiet. Earth is peaceful. On the surface. Cities glow softly, unaware of what's unfolding above and beneath them. The camera slowly pulls back, rising past clouds, past the atmosphere, past the satellites still blind to what hovers beyond. Then we see it, a massive structure just outside perception, cloaked in phase distortion, watching. Waiting, waiting. A faint glyph flickers on its surface, the same one Jonas carried. "The truth has a price," Jonas' voice narrates faintly. And the story doesn't end, it just changes shape. As the image fades, one final flicker appears. A new gate forming in the void, far from Earth, on a world no one remembers. Humanity is no longer the center. They're just one thread in a universe now awake. Jonas' story is not over. It's only just beginning.